Little dark in here. Let's wait for people to shuffle on in. Bum ba bum. Wait for people to shuffle on in. And on, let's see, YouTube, just for you, Peppers. Gonna go head over to YouTube and block out people who are not subscribers, just for you. Because you're right. You are right. But doing it like this on Studio, I'm not really. It's done differently. Well, that's me talking. Look at that. Okay. Yeah, it's done differently. So give me a hot second here. Why does it show the old thing? Why does it keep doing that? This is why I like to. Oh no, that's the wrong one. This is weird, man. Weird. It doesn't take templates of the overlays. Okay, so to hell with templates then. Let's not do templates. Which is a little bit of a pain, because you know what that means? Work. Work. You laughing at me, little buddy? Yeah, it means work. Got my little Roro here with me, right? Say hello, Roro. Say hello. Hello. Little funny guy. He's hanging out with me while mom's doing some back to school stuff. Speaking of back to school, my son, while we wait for people to jump in here, my son went back to school early already. Incredible. Because he started early college in his junior year of high school, which is great because it means that he can boogie on out. It means he can boogie on out sooner, which, might sound funny now, but might sound cool now. But let's face it, parents, once they're gone, you miss them. You know you do. You know you do. Big developments on this. Funny stories to tell. So I'm not going to wait too much longer. I'm just going to do this YouTube thing, and then we're gonna bust a move. I don't know why YouTube keeps labeling us as entertainment. When you create playlists and you assign those videos to playlists, they should just honor the ones that you assigned, and it's news and politic podcasts. That's what it is, and they keep changing it to entertainment, which is getting quite annoying. So sorry for that, YouTubers. So no, I mean, it's not that. Actually, I think that Trump's saying these things, and we'll get to it, okay? But I think there's a statement now I've heard twice from Trump in the last 2 days. One was a bit of private information that I have had, and now we have, let's get into it. Let's just get into it. You ready? Yeah, he's shaking his head. You gonna let Daddy do this without jumping involved? You gonna let Daddy do his thing without jumping in and talking? I don't think so. He's gonna talk about Yoshi. All right, let's get cooking. There's enough people. Let's get cooking. Everyone will funnel in as time goes on, or maybe I'll give them 1 second. I'll share on X, which a lot of people do. Come almost still to this day. Most people do come to the program from X and X link. I'm not going to download anything or do anything crazy like that. I'll just share my screen so we can talk about the things that need to be talked about. And I'll do the big old now thing so people know it's now. Yep, now. I'll do truth one time, which is where we're getting some of this from. So might as well give them a hat tip. Would you guys watch on Truth if I was on Truth TV? So I got this little heads up. Here's an offer from, Truth. You can do your streaming and stuff like that. Would you guys watch from Truth, or you would just wind up watching anyway from locals, probably, right? I imagine that's what would wind up happening. Can't hurt. Maybe it'll open up for some new audience. We'll see. But I got to think about these things because it just means another venue that I got to, deal with and maintain, which is why I love this idea of Rumble Studio, because it helps quite a bit when it comes to doing all this other stuff. I don't have to do it, which is awesome. I don't have to go right to Getter now and do it, or right to YouTube and do it. Locals, bear with me, buddy. I am going to pull you over here so I can see your comments from here. All right, let's do this. Morning to you too, Long Reach. Morning. Very good, very good. Let's get going. I will save you the Beowulf audio clip and we'll just go. All right. So remove the overscreen. And presentation. This is what I want to show. Good morning and welcome to, actually it's an afternoon. It's a morning for you, Long Reach, but it's an afternoon for us. So thanks for joining. And everybody else. This is what I want to talk about. I may have to remove myself just so you can see it, but you know, I can also just read it to you, right? All right. So this is a big deal. And if you have been in the Locals book club, and Tragedy of Great Power Politics is over there, by John Mearsheimer. This is, of course, Jack Schneider, Myths of Empire, which is huge. There were a lot of myths of empire used to justify the United States getting involved in what is now the Russo-Ukrainian War, which is misleading in and of itself. This war should be called the Russo-NATO War because, of course, Ukraine was bloodlet during it, but without NATO, this would not have gone on this way. And without, and I know a lot of people don't hear this, but without Vladimir Putin being restrained and showing a lot of restraint, then this war would not have gone on this long. But without a doubt, the Ukrainians were not capable of defending themselves. NATO armed them, they trained them. They even provided bodies from across, willing bodies, but bodies from across the NATO countries and even around the world. But that's what this really all came down to. The Russo-Ukrainian War, which is the Russo-NATO War, all was started because NATO reneged under Joe Biden particularly. NATO reneged on its pledge not to make Ukraine a NATO member nation, okay? They were supposed to be, and this dates back almost 2 decades now, this agreement. It dates back that far, and it was an agreement that no matter what, Ukraine would stay neutral. And if you're being intellectually honest with yourself, and we've had these conversations on book club a lot when we were reading The Tragedy of Great Power Politics, as this war was getting ready to kick off, and in fact did get kicked off as we were reading the book. If you're being honest with yourself, you would admit that there is, let's assume, or let's paint a picture before we get into what Trump is saying here. Let's pretend as if Russia collapsed, or the Soviet Union fell. And when Russia re-rose from the ashes, it did not take the restrained approach or the non-interventionist approach, which I know if you're a consumer of Western media, you may have all of your facts backward and you don't really know at all the truth of Russia and its intentions and how Putin has operated, and his philosophy is statecraft and international relations. Only if you speak Russian and you follow his own words would you really know the truth. It is a Western myth that Putin wanted to reconstitute the Soviet Union. That's not true. He called them Bolsheviks all the time, which was an insult. And he believed the Bolsheviks they were fanatical leftists, and they put their ideology or their ideological fanaticism above the interest and the needs of the Russian people. And they overexpanded and they caused a collapse. That is what Putin really does believe. So the idea that he was ever going to reconstitute the Soviet Union or wanted to do that is a complete and total fiction. And it's actually laughable because, of course, he didn't have the resources or the manpower to do it. He would have had to resort to nuclear tactics, which, of course, he's not going to do. I mean, it's a joke. So the West and a lot of Western consumers of media have been duped into believing fictions, right? Eventually, he had to respond when what he believed, by the way, this is just true. Whether you agree with it or not, it just doesn't matter. That the Chinese and Trump's enemies in the United States sabotaged Donald Trump with a pandemic and exploited US election laws, and they stole the election, the re-election of Donald Trump, and they installed a mindless retard. And I don't mean that by being, I'm not trying to offend anybody, and believe me, I have somebody, who has who's mentally handicapped in my own family, right? So I'm not saying this to mock anybody. I'm telling you what he really thinks. And hold on one second. All right, so I'm sorry, he was playing this, like, I don't know, club music or something on his thing. And I'm like, you can't do that, buddy. You got to turn it off. But this is what he thinks. And then with this mindless moron, running around and pretending to be president, there were a bunch of Russia-phobic warmongers and liberal internationalists who were running the country, pseudo running the country, and allowing, this partnership, which is dangerous, with the U.S. intelligence state to basically have their way and, have their say. And eventually he decided once, and it good dates back, the first statement dated back to the summer, of 2021 with Joe Biden, at media almost months after he took office, which indicated that they would renege on the promise or the pledge to keep Ukraine neutral. And so that is when Vladimir Putin decided that he had to do something about it, right? Everyone has been calling Russia the aggressor here, but the truth of the matter is NATO is the aggressor, textbook the aggressor. You can say this all you want and put the cute little flag in your profile picture and, pretend to be cool, but you would be laughed out of any higher education institution. You would be laughed out of the classroom if you went in there and started to argue that the Russians were the aggressor in this conflict. NATO is the aggressor from a purely international relations security studies standpoint. And I'm going to give you a hypothetical to make you understand that better if maybe you do not understand this. And keep this in mind before I do. There are no good guys and bad guys in international relations. That's not how the world works. We're all bad. We're just nations. I mean, if you want to label it something, fine, we're all bad. But the truth of the matter is, we're all just nations pursuing our own interests. And the international state of anarchy is one of relative power. And nations seek power in order for stability. Now, you can argue whether or not their reasons are offensive or defensive. That's a totally separate conversation. And if you were in book club, you would know what I'm talking about. Somebody like Amir Scheimer is an offensive realist. Somebody like Jack Snyder, which is why we picked one of each, is a defensive realist. Waltz, Man, the State and War. He is a defensive realist, right? But they all agree on they all agree on certain things. And this idea that there are good guys and bad guys is just a joke. It's a joke. It's not how it's not how you justify military action or how you approach diplomacy or statecraft. That is folly. And if you did, then you could justify attacking anybody at any time as long as you make the argument that you're in the moral right. That is stupidity, and that is not how real thinkers think about this stuff, right? So I'm not saying that to like put anybody down. I'm telling you this so you understand that is how it goes. That is how it really is. And in that higher academia, which I always found to be ironic, this is the one, I would guess, school that deals with political policy, right? This is this one school where the so-called smart people don't actually follow the academics. And people like John Mearsheimer, who have been right for multiple decades in a row now, are constantly attacked by the blob. The blob is like the military-industrial complex, only it's the State Department's form of it, and foreign policy, period. So the blob, right? The blob is where the stupid people go who can't actually argue this stuff seriously in a classroom, because you'll get destroyed in 2 pages like Bruce Russett did with his democratic peace theory by somebody more serious like John Mearsheimer. I mean, it's a 300 and something page book, guys, and the entire basis of why we conduct foreign policy was destroyed by John Mearsheimer in 2 pages of a 300 and something page book. Like this, and nobody disputes that nobody disputes it except for in Washington, D.C., and the morons on the Pundit roundtables on cable and network news. All right. Here's the hypothetical. If after the fall of the Soviet Union, Putin was how everybody said he was, and he decided, you know what, I'm either not going to totally dissolve or I will reinstitute the Warsaw Pact. And he decided to make a bordering state, maybe call it Mexico or one of Mexico's states, right? Because Mexico is a country. There are multiple states. But, we could pick either one. It doesn't matter. Or we could say to the north, let's assume there's like some version of the world where Alberta, right, becomes its own state. So maybe he picks Alberta, right? Right across from Niagara Falls, maybe. There is no longer a neutral country on the border of the United States, and because we're what is called an insular power. We are surrounded by 2 bodies of water. England's an insular power, and they're surrounded by all bodies of water. But there's 2 bodies of water and 2 friendlies on the other borders, north and the south, right? But what if that wasn't that way? And what if we weren't an insular power anymore because the Warsaw Pact threatened that? And right across the border from Niagara Falls, there's Putin's buddy. And Putin and the FSB, former KGB, they ended up toppling a democratically elected pro-Western government and installed this garbage government. What if they did that and installed a pro-Russian government? And now they're saying that government, this nation, is not going to be neutral anymore. In fact, we are going to propose that nation become part of the Warsaw Pact. Well, the United States would let the bombs fly, and they would invade that nation, and that would be the end of it. And yet we're sitting here on our righteous asses pretending as if Russia does not have the right to do that too. Of course they do. Of course they do. And that is what Vladimir Putin did. And he did it showing extreme restraint. I'm getting blown up here, obviously. Trump is not stupid, and Trump knows that. I don't know why Donald Trump has been entertaining these clowns in his administration and in the U.S. Senate, all right, when he doesn't have to. He has squandered a lot of political capital trying to play nice with people when he went in there as the man with a huge mandate when his own party didn't share that mandate. He should have never have shared the spotlight with the Republican Party and pretended as if that the 24 election was also their mandate. It was not. They underperformed Donald Trump everywhere because they're not like Donald Trump and because voters aren't stupid. Mike Rogers is a war whore. He lost. Trump won. Perfect example, the state of Michigan. Perfect. Sam Brown, a veteran. He lost. Trump won. Here, Trump knows Ukraine cannot be part of NATO. And the only reason why he got Lady Lindsay to back down is because Lady Lindsay's poll numbers were atrocious and he is in a real race against Paul Dance. And if he doesn't pretend that he's like Donald Trump in the next 6 months, he's going to lose. And Trump would not give him what he wanted, which was more funding, more bodies, and troops. And there was a comment in there about Trump saying that he wanted to send troops, U.S. troops. Trump's being Trump. And I never understood why some people do still not understand that. I think that, and remember this saying, on the left, the TDS is real, but on the right, the PTSD is real. And even in this term, if we're being honest, Trump has given people reason to doubt that he's really doing what he normally does, which is make these crazy statements and their negotiation tactics, and he's not really going to do it. There are a lot of people now who simply just don't trust him anymore, the way that they used to trust him. All right. And that's just real. Anyway, but Trump knows that he cannot allow Zelensky to become to lead Ukraine into NATO member nation status. He can't. So this is what he said, and he said it publicly after I was told that he said privately that this is obviously the hang-up. This was Putin's hang-up. And we all know this. And there was been something that's been going on behind the scenes that people haven't been talking about. And Trump is trying to convince the EU member nations to get on board with this kind of an idea that was originally proposed by former Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel. Okay? All right. So here we go. President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, or he can continue to fight. Remember how it started. No getting back Obama given Crimea 12 years ago without a shot being fired, and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change. Look at what he all capped here. No going into NATO by Ukraine. This is huge. This is absolutely huge. And I hope you don't mind us putting that up there, but there's a lot of people, obviously, who agree with you, Dave. And you guys are real. And I think a lot of Trump's most loyal, there are two groups. His most loyal supporters who nothing Trump does wrong is wrong, doesn't cost him any support. He just, he's going to be at 70% approval forever. I mean, the delusional ones, right? And they're there, and you know it, and I know it, right? Let's be real. And then there's the other class who also cheerleads with them, and they're the co-opters, and they're getting some things that they want from Donald Trump. So they pretend to be sycophants when the minute that Donald Trump is vulnerable, they will stab him in the back. They will plunge a dagger in his back. And I totally agree. I just want to put this up here as well. 100%. NATO was, of course, designed as a balancing coalition. And again, please join book club. You'd read these books and you'd know what these terms are. A balancing coalition against the Warsaw Pact. It is absolutely 40 years beyond its expiration date. You are totally right. Because honestly, there are a lot of people that believe that the Russians were never 10 feet tall to begin with. And NATO was never needed like that to begin with. But now the Warsaw Pact is gone. And even when Vladimir Putin became the new president of Russia and Russia as a singular nation began to ascend again and get put back together, Vladimir Putin himself was in favor of NATO remaining in Western Europe because he himself viewed it as a stabilizing force, and he could not take any instability in Europe at all. He didn't want Germany on the rise again, militarizing, coming east. He didn't need that. He couldn't afford it. But now, there's no point to NATO at all. NATO is completely worthless at this point. And it should be. You want to make it an anti-terror thing, whatever. NATO should, frankly, be much more friendly if we're going to keep a balancing coalition at all. It should aspire to make at least a working relationship with Russia a possibility, because, and again, I don't want to get too much in the weeds here of international relations, but Russia is a natural target as an ally, as a geopolitical ally against China. They are in the same, what is called, sphere of influence, because you cannot project your power everywhere. They're in their their hegemonic sphere of influence. And China, a rising China, should be seen as more of a threat to Vladimir Putin and Russia than the United States is. And yet we have given Russia cause to believe that the West, NATO, Western countries, all, of course, backed by the U.S., all led like a bunch of little dogs by the U.S., they are the greater threat. And that is one of the biggest geopolitical mistakes the United States has made ever. It's up there with the Iraq War. It's that bad because China has been given a free pass to grow stronger and stronger and stronger without any of their natural would-be, enemies are strong, but competitors, security competitors, without natural security competition, which is the actual term, security competition, from other states, nation states, or great powers, specifically like Russia. And now we've succumbed in large part, or at least almost half the country, to this irrational, because it is an irrational fear, this illogical Russophobia that has paralyzed us from implementing any sane, wise foreign policy. Thank God people like E.H. Carr are dead, because he would be calling us the biggest morons out here. All right. So the fact that Trump said this is a big, big deal. And then I want to play this other clip. Let me grab this clip. And oh my God, I know you guys, some of you are going to like, oh my God, it's Bannon. It is Bannon. And there's a reason why I'm going to play him. It's important. Let me just make sure I don't share anybody's personal information here, guys. Okay. Nope, can't do it like that. Wow, this is going to be a pain. How am I going to do this? I'm going to have to share this like this first and then go like that. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm actually going to get myself off the screen while we play this clip and listen to more about like what is this idea that is starting to become more prevalent of this coalition of the willing, which has been kicked around for a while. And this is what I'm not going to say I think. I mean, this is the preferred solution because Ukraine needs a security guarantee. And this is the answer to that problem of Ukraine needing a security guarantee because they don't have one outside of NATO. That was their guarantee. It has been since the renege. And if you're Vladimir Zelensky, you think a lot more about the future of Ukraine. You think about the future yourself. You get caught by the Russians and you're losing your head. Right? So it's more just about, well, what's going to happen to Ukraine? What about the loss of life so far? These leaders, at some point at the end of a kinetic conflict, start to think about their own personal safety. They do. And honestly, I can't say I honestly blame them. Let me get rid of my own camera, and you guys can still hear me. But let's listen to this clip, and Jack's going to explain it. Well, there is a nation that is a notable no on this. And it's not even like a no. They're like, you go ahead and do it. We're just not going to be a part of it. And they obviously are a strategic part of the map. And this, we'll see if it becomes an issue.
Before I lose you, I appreciate you calling by phone. I want to go back to what the Russians said earlier about the security guarantees and the very careful way that the president of the United States just put it as Truth Social, talking about they were in the Oval Office after the larger meeting. And he said that the security guarantee would come from basically the nations of Europe, from the European Union, with coordination by the United States of America. What's your read on that, sir?
Steve, I'm actually going back, and I would take it back to even prior to what we saw today. I think this is an explanation because President Nawrocki of Poland, who's someone that, I got to see him at the inauguration, got to see him at CPAC Poland when he was running. He did not attend the meeting today. And there were some questions about that. He said, why didn't he come? He was on the phone call the other day, and he referred to this phrase called the coalition of the willing. And he said, Poland is not part of the willing. We are not part of this coalition. So what it seems to me, Steve, is that I think this idea has been in the works for a couple of weeks now. Do you remember when they were talking about that army of the EU a few years ago? This certainly was an idea under Angela Merkel and others. I think what we're seeing here is the countries that are making the security guarantee are the ones that were in the room. And the countries that weren't there are not going to be participating in this, or at least it's going to be an incredibly controversial part of that. Because think of it, they're not referring to NATO, they're not referring to the EU directly. They're calling themselves the coalition of the willing. And certainly you've got representatives of NATO and representatives of the EU, Mark Rutte and Ursula von der Leyen, who are there, but it's not a full representation.
Right.
So it seems to be that those are the countries that are going to be covering down on the brunt of whatever the security guarantee ends up being.
Wow.
I think this is probably what has been cooking up and is yet to be revealed, probably until this True Social post.
And I'm going to show you that.
So Macron's been working on something. This is where, and of course, the EU does have this situation where there, if you become a member of EU, you get a security guarantee. You're not in NATO.
Yep.
Quite interesting. Jack.
Right. So there is its own guarantee if you're going to, if you're going to be in the EU, it comes with its own security guarantee. What it's worth is another story altogether. But the Truth Social post that he's referring to, I'm going to pull up here and we'll look at it. But this is a change, guys. This is a change, which the last time we've heard this term, coalition of the willing, was when? The Iraq War. Do you remember that? So we're just going to go in there with a coalition of the willing, guys, right? And how that work out. It doesn't exactly have a whole lot of juice to it, but it almost doesn't become our problem anymore. So if Trump does this, and of course that's, he knows this, this is brilliant. He's going to get all of the credit for being a peacemaker without much of the obligation. So this is, of course, a MAGA preferred option, right? And if we polled this now, it would be through the roof. By the way, the public polling project link is in the description of this video. Support it if you can and share it far and wide. All right. Because we will poll it. If we hit the mark, we will. All right. Let's read it. I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests, President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of Finland, Prime Minister Giorgio Meloni of Italy, Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany, Friedrich Merz, President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and Treasury General of NATO, Mark Rutte, in the White House, which ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. By the way, during that meeting, this is like, they shit all over, pardon my French, they absolutely shit all over the corporate media. And these people have been rooting for Trump to fail in this peace process. They're disgusting. They're like the most disgusting creatures in the United States. They are the most divisive and dangerous force in American politics. Mark Mitchell, the pollster from Rasmussen Reports, obviously pointed out today something that I have pointed out all the time, which is that if you simply poll where Americans stand on this and other issues, you will see that, of course, not on every issue, but on the very big issues, the solutions, right? What Americans support, they are very MAGA oriented on the actual solutions. But the media is this very, very negative force that prevents us from coming together even more than I would say we did in 24, which was the most diverse election of a president Republican president ever in the modern history. But you'd have to go back to Obama when a bunch of white Republicans said, you know what, let's give him a chance. And Republican-leaning voters said, let's give him a chance. And then they abandoned him pretty quickly. And he needed to be reelected by a disproportionate turnout in his base, not because he had the support of independents and other Republicans, other parties. So without this very negative group, America would not be as divisive, guys, as it is. From election integrity to economic nationalism, Americans are pretty unified on the solutions that they would like to see. And those solutions are very much in line with MAGA. It's the media and the branding and the messaging that they interfere with our unity. I don't know how else to put it. They literally interfere with our unity, and they cheerlead for our failure when it's a political party in office that they don't agree with or they're not currently aligned with. I can actually prove this, but with data. So has Mark in the past. We can show you our long trend of right track, wrong track. Anytime the country under Trump or somebody like a Trump, like a Republican, is doing well, they manufacture some crisis or go all in on some hoax to divide us, and they destroy it and they wreck it. They're truly are the enemy of the American people. Like Donald Trump is right about that. And all week they've been poo-pooing this and, calling Trump an agent of Putin. He's a stooge. Look at him. He's a little biatch. You look at him walking with, like, it looked like I was waiting for him to give Putin a kiss. Stupid shit, stupid shit. And meanwhile, you have the Secretary General of NATO and all these leaders, certainly not MAGA lovers, certainly like globalists, representative of the globalist elite class, the ruling class, coming out and praising Donald Trump as like the greatest peacemaker of our time. It was hilarious to watch, right? All the credit to you, Mr. President, the Secretary General said. I was like pissing my pants in enjoyment. During the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by the various European countries with a coordination with the United States of America. Everyone is very happy about the possibility of peace, in all caps, for Russia, Ukraine. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin and began the arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelensky. After that meeting takes place, we will have a trilat, which would be the two presidents plus myself. Again, this was a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I just got to say, J.D., you're doing a fantastic job. I know you're working your ass off, and you're keeping it real. And, you're my boy, bro. You're my boy, Blue. You're doing great. I can actually see this help Donald Trump's approval rating quite a bit if he gets this deal. That is, however, different from Republicans digging themselves out of the midterm grave that they are currently digging for themselves. Again, I will point out that Republicans underperformed Donald Trump a lot in 24. They had a lot of work to do separate from all of this stuff that we have been talking about since he became president and all of these things that kind of threatened his coalition. Again, his coalition. It's not their coalition. Donald Trump has a coalition. Republicans do not have a coalition. And it was like their sole job on planet Earth every day they wake up to make sure that that was no longer true by the time the 26 midterms came. And they're not doing a very good job of it. I could foresee Donald Trump's approval rating coming back, doing well, and yet Republicans still underperforming again. And there's a lot of certainty out there with the midterms right now. You got Indiana, by the way, also backing Donald Trump, saying, you got it, Mr. President, and proposing to redraw their lines. We got to talk more about that on the next Inside the Numbers, by the way, because this is becoming a very fluid battle. All right. Democrats are fighting back, and they are changing the districts. California 13 is getting written out, David. It's gone. Looks like bye-bye 13, right? And it's funny because with the media's help and because Republicans are always reactionary, they're reactive instead of proactive, they lose these messaging wars. And it's not going well in the public eye, even though the facts are very different from what they think they know. The facts are Democrats won the Jerry war after the 2020 census, and they rigged the map in favor of their congressional districts. They did. It's one of the 3 reasons we've discussed why they outperformed in 2022. Even though Republicans won the House vote by almost an identical margin as what we polled it. They did. They still didn't win the Senate. They still didn't win a bigger majority in the House of Representatives. They underperformed. Anyway, back to it. And the Senate, the other 2 reasons explain the Senate, by the way, but that was last week's show. Go back and check it out if you didn't see it. All right. So there you have it. Is this a good time? What time is it? It's 2:48 already? Crying out loud. Bear with me. Let me try something, okay? Bang! How do I do this? Bang, bang. Let's go. Let's check this out. All right. Bear with me. I've never done this before. Oh, it's awesome. All right, let's take a quick break. This is awesome. You still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. Get it? The 1775 starter kit just dropped again. only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. What? This is a new kit. They're not playing. All single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic, baby. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions, and a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. That's it, $99. This is for the one. This whole new kit is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, blow up on Inside the Numbers, blow up on What Are the Odds, wondering if it's actually worth it. And the spoiler alert, folks, it is. Laura and I love it. We drink it every single day. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. By the way, if you go to the link below too in the description, that's the TPP one. It'll take you right there. All right. 1775coffee.com/studio or TPP. None below for you. Or you could just take out your camera right now, go to that QR code and snag it. All right. This is so simple. That was simple. That was so simple. Man, you're about to get a call, Rumble Studio. We're going to figure out how you can add my election graphics to this system because this is making my life a lot simpler. That was great. And Viva, you weren't kidding. By the way, it was great to hang out with Viva and Robert, right? And Election Wizard, right? Man, that was fun. Good talk. Bright guy, by the way. If you're not following Election Wizard on Twitter or X, you should do so. Bright guy, smart guy, good guy. But met Dave over there, man. Viva, he's a ball energy. I love it. He comes over. He's like, "Damn, you are going to the gym." We're both midgets. Love it. Not midgets, but not exactly tallest dudes in the world. Fun time. Great people. I really very much enjoy it. And by the way, if she's watching, Doc, I love you. You're like the sweetest doctor I've ever met in my life, and I love you to death. And anytime you ever need anything, hit me up. None but love for you, girl. None but love. Brilliant woman. Also, deeply, deeply generous and caring. It's like when you run into people where they're like legit, good-hearted, and you're like, man, if the world was just like filled with a few more of those. Next time I got to try to bring Laura with back to school and stuff. It was just really, really hard to do that. But Chattanooga is an awesome city. If you've never been, it's very cool. A lot of great things to do. Just super nice people, growing like crazy. Chattanooga is growing like crazy. It was fun. I will do my best to. Oh, what's this? Without. I know, and I got to put your name up there, even though it's shoveling shit. It's a great name, shoveling shit. I love it. But he writes, Barris, Trump is trying to make peace with the House and Senate being on fake recess, hiding in their basements. This is the thing with these people. Love it. Can you bring me this? Oh, you're gorgeous. You look absolutely gorgeous. Folks, I have the most beautiful daughter in the world. I want to take this opportunity to thank God. Here we go. People's pundits and misogynists. I want to take this opportunity to thank God for not giving me an ugly daughter. Like I would not. And she's such a good girl. I love this girl. I mean, like Laura gets the credit for this stuff. I don't, but including the looks, but yeah, what a great kid. And she's, you got it. You're awesome. By the way, Rubber was playing like dance music on my show and stuff. I don't know if they heard it or not, but like, yeah, because I'm on the show right now. No, like dance music. Like all of a sudden it was like, doonch. Yeah, no, it's locals, it's Rumble, it's YouTube, it's Getter, it's everybody. World, my daughter. World, my daughter. Daughter, world. You should. You want to share? Oh, what are you doing? Yeah. Okay, come here. Let me give her a hug. I love this kid. Come Ah, so beautiful, my beautiful girls. Come here, girls. I'm gonna not see you both very soon. But you know what? The start of the new school year is exciting. It's a new year, new memories. You know what I mean? Yeah. A new Halloween, a new Thanksgiving, a new Christmas. Let's go. And then ultimately a new year, you know? Yep. He's yeah, we're both short, Andrew, honestly. I'm not a short, neither is Dave, but like, you know, I mean, Robert's probably like 6 foot something. I don't know, you know. Also Chase was there from the, Chase and Greg from the behavior panel. Great guys. You guys ever watch that? The behavior panel? Man, Chase and I had this like super in-depth conversation. I may invite him on the show because, you know, he's man, we just had a crazy conversation. I wish like you guys would have heard it about like the nature of reality and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it was really cool. It was really cool. Yeah, Andrew, you're 6 foot, so like, you know, I don't know, I'd probably be up to like your chin, I guess. You know? Something like that. You know? Hey. I don't know. License says I'm 5'7". I don't believe it. Especially after the army, the injury in the army. That's you get any kind of like hip, leg, femur injury, stuff like that, and you're going to end up shorter than you were. That's going to happen, you know? Yeah, long reach. This guy's smart, dude. Chase. And it's funny because my wife, she's a huge fan of the behavior panel. And he was like so flat. She's like, wait a minute, you mean Chase Hughes? She's like, this guy? And then she was like, I'm reading the book. Like, and I'm like, oh, your book is on the end table right now. Because it legit was on the end table. And Greg's book is next. First, she read Scott Rouse's book. And then my wife has always been, and if you watch the behavior panel, they'll tell you, women, guys, I hate to break this to you. We're stupid. Women have better intuition. Women are much, much better at the powers of intuition, right? They're more intuitive. If your wife tells you, I don't like that guy, listen to her. If your wife tells you that girl is going to try to get in your pants, listen to her. Save yourself the trouble later. I'm not saying pick up and run, but be on guard. Women most definitely have better intuition than we do. We want, especially of other men, we want to be more trusting. We think, you know, a man deserves the benefit of the doubt. And I'm never going to not be like that. I'm just saying, listen to your wife when they tell you, you're probably going to be disappointed. So anyway, she's, you know, watching this stuff and learns a lot, but that's why she's always been like this. She's always had like these natural gifts, and it just is like learning so much more about the mechanics behind it if you guys tune into that. And you may remember I was on the behavior panel to discuss my UFO sighting. I mean, I subjected myself to a panel of human lie detectors just to prove a point, right? So that's it, you know. Why are they then? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Right. Wait a minute. Facts right there. I'm not saying like all women, but in general, of course. In general, they are. But somebody's soul said, then why did they vote for Democrats? I had to put that up because that's funny as hell. I mean, let's be honest. That's funny as hell. Look at how they take the YouTube logo and put it up. I like that, man. I like that quite a bit. Yeah, that's cool. So that means I want to change it so that when I put it up, it looks better. I'm going to be using Rumble Studio a whole lot more, I think, guys. I don't know if I can do it during election season, but I mean, I'm going to have Laura talk and we'll discuss what maybe they could do to make our graphics better. Or I know they work with OBS. But we don't use OBS. We use for the graphics, we use something called Telestream or Wirecast, which is built by Telestream. And that's how we're able to show live results, like actually on banners. I don't know if you remember some of those tests we did before the election and then wound up, because having guests and that all together was a little bit, but mostly we wound up using the simple way to do it anyway with decision desks. But you could feed in like the decision desk API and have it update on a lower third or something, right? All right, so we'll talk to them about it, maybe, because when I'm looking at right now, like if I go to the, let's do a dynamic overlay, right? Like the live chat or something. There it is. Boo. The donation banner. Hey, thanks, Ryan. Oh, that's awesome. That's cool. Mind if I leave that up there? That's cool. Oh, Andrew, that's so cool. And see, if they can do that, that's a GIF or an animation. If they can do that, then I'm thinking like we could tweak a little bit more here. That's really cool. And by the way, thanks guys as always for your support. I don't know if they do show super chats or something like that. I'm gonna have to ask Peppers if there was one in the chat, and like, let me know, Peppers, if there was one in the chat, because I want to know what it looks like if it goes up. I don't think it's gonna come up as a donation. I think it would come up as a comment. But because they can do that, there's got to be a way to put our graphics up there, which would be awesome, right? All right. What else? I know it's 3 p.m. already, but yeah, I would have been on yesterday, but locals, remember when I said they said there was a paperwork issue with my son's college? It wasn't a paperwork issue. They lost his application. And it was like last week when he's calling and he's like, hey, I know college starts earlier than my regular high school does, like a week early. I haven't gotten my schedule confirmed yet, and the woman hasn't gotten back to me. And they blew him off until Monday. Friday. It was Friday, because I remember somebody on the weekend, because it was when I was in Chattanooga. Somebody on the weekend finally called and said, I'm sorry, sir, but we actually don't have your son's thing. And we were like, what? Excuse me? Yeah. Absolutely crazy. Just crazy. And there's a way for me to do. That's awesome, man. I need to figure out how to do this. I need to figure out how to do. Whoa, you can actually log the ad reads. All right. So I had to go down there with him and do that. Otherwise, I would have did this yesterday. Obviously, with one post less. Big deal, right? You might notice that Nancy Mace's polling went out there, but not the Senate numbers. I guess they're going to need some time to cook them before they release them. Huh, Mary Helen? You're going to do a little, little whiteout. Right? Let's change that to a 5. See, he's at 50. You think I'm kidding? I already watched that pollster fudge shit before. Little spoiler alert, Randy Fine was never down in that special election. Little spoiler alert, Tim Ryan was never tied with JD Vance. I don't know how these people get away with this stuff. But I guess, it's the ultimate issue. Like, you're more likely to find that guy in like a Blue Oyster like club in Greenwich Village on a Saturday night at like 1:30 a.m. You feeling me? Than you are to find him anywhere near a MAGA gathering, And I'm not talking about Randy Fine. All right. And to each his own, to each his own. But you know what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make. I deal in generalities a lot, so bear with me. All right. So with that in mind, I guess I'm going to kick rocks here. It's 3:03. I'll let you go for yeah, and he's in college. Yeah, actually, yeah. That's what's cool is that he gets to go to college, even though he's not done with high school yet. He's getting an early start. He can do like 7 credits a semester. So he can get an early jump on it. And he can get calculus and math 3 out of the way. And there's like, you can, so by the time he gets to, and right now, I mean, he's looking at NC State. I'm like, really? Because he could do a lot more than that. Right now he's looking at NC State. But yeah, I guess it is what it is. Let me get rid of that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, thought I'd tell you guys that. Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I'm super proud of him. It's going to be hard though. It is going to be hard. There's no doubt. It's definitely going to be hard. Thanks, Susie. Appreciate that. Although it doesn't actually show. Oh, it doesn't show. Okay. But thank you. As always, you guys are awesome. Oh, look, it does show it, Andrew. You're right. It does. But that's only locals. I actually don't see it on YouTube. Well, we'll figure it out. It'll go. And I don't know if it does Rumble Rants either. I don't know. But just know, appreciate you for it, even if I don't highlight you. And some people don't want to be highlighted. That's the truth. They don't. All right, it's 3:05. Let's see. What do I got for you here? Nothing much, I guess, other than, the link to 1775 is in the description. We love 1775. So is the Public Polling Project. Again, let's check a look at that, because we did get a nice little boost since brought it up. I would poll. It depends when it funds. I would poll. Let's see where it's at. Almost more than halfway there. Why isn't it saying final polls? Oh, okay. More than halfway there. That's pretty good. And that's the one you would do, national surveys for quarter 3, 2025. I think we would do, this process would come to a complete let's say I don't know, somebody came out of nowhere and just chunked it all in and the thing was funded and we were able to poll. It's Tuesday. Wednesday, we would, for instance, go over what we're going to talk about in the questionnaire. And let's say everybody would be like, well, of course we want to do his approval rating, but what about how he's handling the peace process, stuff like that. We would take a day or two to do that. And then we would go into the field. It still would be, even if we went today, chances are it would still launch as this process is coming, or the trilat is coming to a close. So, I mean, it depends again when it's done, but I got to say, we got to do this. We got to do this, right? We got to do this. Well, he wants to be Mr. Grilled Cheese, just to let you know. He wants to be aerospace engineering, aeronautics. So, he doesn't want to be the People's Pundit Junior. Him and my daughter both, and I think my little one is going to maybe be even better than me. I'm not kidding. I think this kid's going to be a savant in mathematics. I think he's weird, but weird in a very smart way. And I think if it's going to come out in something. And I think right now it looks like he's very good with math. So we'll see. But they've always been. And he doesn't want to be the mini People's Pundit, my oldest one. He wants to do his own thing, and God bless him for it. And it was always like a juggle between and I know it's crazy, but geez, what is the name of that again? A marine biologist, which is more science than math, obviously, or this. And he's gone with this, and it's like, more can do. He wants a family, he wants kids, and the life of some of the marine biologists he's spoken to is not conducive to what he had in mind, right? So, those are both passions, and that's where he's going to go with it. But not a mini People's Pundit. Not a mini People's Pundit, guys. That's just probably good. It's not a. There's a downside to this. You're under attack constantly. Yeah. So, either way, let him do what he wants to do. Rare L women do not have better intuition. Laura's just really smart. And of course, you got me by the short and curlies, because I can't say anything in response to that now, can I? Without getting myself in trouble, right? Yeah, you got to let them find their own calling. I totally agree. I totally agree. Plus, I think my daughter is much more likely to be a more public personality. Yeah, but I totally agree with that. I think you're right about this, Eric. I think you're right about this. I think you're right about that, because isn't that just how we work naturally anyway? I thought my oldest was an incredibly early learner, and he would do things, even like walking, learning to walk early. He walked at a ridiculously young age. I just couldn't believe it. And I thought my wife was lying when she was like, he's going to walk soon, Rich. When you were out, he looked like he was getting ready to take a step, 2 steps. I'm like, Laura, he's still a baby. And sure enough, he got those fat little legs stable and started waddling. I was like, what? Oh, that's so awesome, Norm. That's so awesome. But I think that then my daughter comes along, and my daughter walks like 2 weeks earlier. And I think it's because she was around someone who was already very proficient at things and was learning from someone who was very proficient and early. So I think you're naturally right with, if you're around someone who's doing math every day, all the time, that you're going to have a higher aptitude for it, even if that guy or that girl is awesome, like super smart. If you have the natural aptitude to do it, I think you end up you surpass them, Yep. It's really cool. And congrats, Norm. They're going to walk. Don't try not, really, I can't stress this enough. Try not to miss it, because you just try not to miss it. I was so terrified I would miss it. It was a during time period where I wanted to go back to school and just take a step back. And, after the military, and then, the financial sector, that whole crowd, right before the Great Recession, I'm like, you know what? I want a break. I need to do something different, which wasn't different. It was back to the drawing board, right back to politics, just in a different capacity, right? But yeah, I was so terrified, Norm, that I was going to miss it. And sure enough, I took a lot of classes, because that was basically my job. We had some money, and then I traded in my GI Bill for a chapter, which, if you veterans out there, you know what that is. So in addition to what I had from working and saving, we had that, which was, so I was like able to just chill. And I packed my day with, I wanted a bachelor's degree in like 2 years. And so if I was going back to redo something, I wanted to get to the point I had already been to very quickly. And I did it in summer crazy class. Like most people take 6 credits in summer semester. I was like at like 9. I was nuts, and during normal semesters, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up, but because I don't want to exaggerate. But when I tell you it was like way more than a student does, it was. But that meant longer days. So I would try to come home during that period of time. And it was a day that I was actually there for a long period of time. And I came back and I was done with it. I like finished up everything. I never wasted a second, not for projects, for studying, for anything. And I came back and I wasn't even thinking about it. I just basically was talking with Laura, and I was like, what are we going to do for dinner? And she's like, oh, I got this cooking. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I'm just going to go sit down. And then I remember there's a little kitchen with the nook, and we had like a little bar, and you could see over the nook and the bar into the living room. And I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm actually going to turn on Fox News, and I turn on the news and I see this little kid, doing what they do, like, and I'm like, Laura. And it was great, so don't miss it, Norm. Don't miss it, because it's so cool watching the kids. Oh, she came running in because you heard me say that. I was just Norm's a kid is on the verge of walking, and I was just relaying memories, and don't miss it, if you can. And some people miss it, and that's it. Like, I think I missed Roman. Did I miss Roman? Yes, I missed Roman. I was on a work trip. Yeah, you just decided. I think I remember where I was too, and it was like I was pissed. You were mad. I was mad because I didn't want to go on that trip, but I had to. Yeah. Yeah, 20 credits in 3 years. Yeah, man, you're cooking with steam. Or I don't know, scammed. Could be a man, could be a woman. You're cooking with fire right there. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about right there. So that's cool. 180. Woo woo. Good job. I'd have to look it up so somebody would believe me if I told you that it was like, I want to say. Let me look. I mean, I think I can look it up. Because I went over the amount for a bachelor's degree anyway.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
trying to say like how many credits I took per semester was insane.
No, you got in a year and a quarter.
It was a year and a quarter, wasn't it? I didn't want to say it. I was like, I shot for 2 years, but I beat that target.
You were way before
I beat that target. I did. Yeah, man.
It was like a year and a half, I want to say most, but I think it was a year and a quarter.
Scum, did you, were the chapters around when you had your GI Bill? Because, or did you just saying GI? Because like I traded my GI Bill for, I think it was 31 at the time. And then 33 came around because it was better. And a lot of veterans were complaining that's not enough money for rent. And it really wasn't in truth. But like, I wasn't only relying on the chapter, but, because it wasn't. I don't know how other veterans would pay their bills, especially if they had families with just chapter 31. But it still was a better deal than the GI Bill, so I took it. You could trade it in as long as you didn't claim it first. But yeah, or maybe it was for you. It was before all that stuff. But yeah, so thanks to the GI Bill, they said, right, because it allows you to be able to do that. I never understood, Scum. I never understood why people would do it and then take their time and pace it out. What else are you doing? I figured out how crappy the marketing process was at the end of my last year. And you were self-employed. Yeah. Well, then I wonder if they would have given you the chapters if you were self-employed. I don't know. I mean, if you trade it, you trade it. But yeah, I never understood why people didn't do what we did, which is just blow right through it. There's nothing else you're doing. What do you want to sit around and get yourself in trouble? No thanks. I did that enough. I was ready to just go back. All right, but yeah, it's 3:16. I'll let you guys go. Let me get rid of the public polling project thing here. Again, the link's in the description. Do what you can, share far and wide. It's if we had a much bigger contributor base, maybe we could go back to monthly, which would be cool. But right now we're quarterly, kinda, and it's like, I don't know if you guys saw it when I think it was Time or Newsweek, somebody, when I had threw out a warning about Trump bombing Iran. Of course, when I said something that was like what they could perceive to be negative to Trump, they ran with it. They were like, Trump's most favored pollster comes after him. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And in there, they wrote, this guy has always had a positive rating for Trump in his second term. Yeah, no shit. Because we're a quarterly survey. And oh, by the way, your 100-day drop was fake. He never plummeted during the 100-day drop. Pew Research. Who never had him positive. It's like I'm the only one who points out that some of these shitty pollsters who can't predict elections have never had him positive before, even during his honeymoon phase. But they're super quick to point out that at that time anyway, we never had him negative in his second term. And we have since, but obviously it's because we're quarterly. You scam artists. It's a quarterly survey. We're not pumping out shit, garbage like YouGov every week. And some of us had to work 60 hours a week and try to use the GI Bill. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Like if I didn't have what I had saved, bro, that was not enough. Even with, because the GI Bill just gives you money, guys, and pays your tuitions and books. If what you got is enough to cover it. But the chapters gave you living expenses. But those living expenses were like nothing. I mean, nothing. I knew people who somehow fudged whether they bought books or not and pocketed the money so they could pay electric bills. I kid you not. And then would be like, hey, Rich, can I borrow your humanities book or something? Yeah, whatever. Like, how are you going to do this with calculus, bro? how are you going to do this? Like, you have to buy that book. You know, like it was kind of sad. And I'll tell you how they did it. Rich, you done? Can I borrow your calculus book? Like, bro, it's supposed to take a normal person a week to figure out this lesson. You're going to be doing this in a day? Do me a favor. I usually taught myself all the lessons in a day or two of the first week anyway. So eventually I would let people take the books and borrow them. And I kept a lot of them. I think they're cool. They're super expensive. You could sell back stuff too. That's another way to scrap and get money. But I definitely wanted my originals on all my international relations stuff. I wanted my originals. There were some statistics, but was it? I know I have some. I'd have to go and look. My Chinese books are all there. Business etiquette, that's all there. I didn't want to get rid of them. I wanted to keep them. Buy the book, show the receipt, then return the book. Happened a lot. I had teachers tell me to do that. That's it. It is how they did it. That's absolutely true. That's how it's done. All right. So yeah, there we go. Great to see Barris live last Saturday. Proof he's not AI generated. Hey, thanks for coming down, Geo Daddy. That was really cool. I don't know if you knew this, but I tried not to show it. I did my best. I was in excruciating pain and I still had a blast. Excruciating pain. What eventually wound up happening, thank God that place was filled with lawyers and doctors. But one in particular, I love this woman. Apparently she went viral for saving someone's life on camera. Yeah. She's a really impressive woman, actually. Like, her career was like really impressive woman. She took incredible care of me. But in any event, I thought I had like broken my toe. And it's like, you break your toe, you break your toe. My big toe. There's nothing you can do. You wrap it and you move on. And that was like prior week. And it did hurt and it swelled. And then it started to get better. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then Saturday before the plane, and in order to do this, my son, man, teenage kids, 250-gallon tank from an old petty ad a while ago, years ago. I was like, you got to get this stuff. It's like, daddy's version of spring cleaning. School's about to start. Get all this shit out of here, right? Whatever's got to go to the dump, let me know. Somebody want this? Fine. You giving away these clothes? Great. You giving away this tank to somebody? Great. Get it the hell out of here. Instead, he doesn't get it out. He puts it on the top of the landing, the second landing. We have 2 landings on our staircase, both of which you're turning when you're going back up the stairs. Well, he puts it at the top of the second one. And I turn and I dart up 8 steps on the last one and bang, toe impacted front, like right into it. I'm like, mother, son, you know how it goes, right? And I thought I broke it or I jammed it. It is what it is though. But what happened apparently is it wasn't broken. And my nail, the toe, like your toenail, got impacted and cut underneath the skin. And I did not know, right? Yeah, well, my entire foot was infected. I was like, oh my God, I can't walk. And I couldn't. And it was bad. And she was awesome. And by the next day, I was feeling much, 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 much better. But Chase is like, bro, you better go to the hospital. You're going to lose your foot, bro. And he wasn't kidding. He actually was not kidding. Funny stuff. People's Pundit lore. Actually, Barnes event lore. So funny. But it's a great time. It was an absolutely great time. And I'm glad everybody came out and we had a chance to meet and talk. And it's cool. It's always cool. Okay. So I'm about to kick rocks. I'm tempted to say, is speaking with a fellow maggot if they have a child with Down syndrome. I think that if you're talking about it in the correct sense, and just so you know, and I don't think she would care me saying this, but my wife's stepbrother but it's her brother, period, end of story, has the same thing that you're talking about, ideas, not money. And yeah, I would feel comfortable saying it. I would, because number one, we shouldn't be offended so easily by the things that people say, especially when it's a word that has an actual meaning and you're using that word in proper context, right? And that is in proper context. So yeah, I think I would. I think that it like maybe so because like Laura and I don't get offended by it, and we shouldn't have to explain that like, oh, I have someone who's too. We just don't because like we understand that unless you're being malicious, I guess is you know what I mean? Yeah, you can think of another word to insult someone, right? And unless you're being malicious, and there are people who use that word just for the sake of being malicious, and I still don't get offended by it. I don't go, hey, my whatever. Same thing. I have gay people in my family, and I don't get offended by people, saying I'm not an easily offended guy, but especially when you're using it in its proper context. Now, nobody says gay in the proper context anymore. Like, oh, he's so happy and gay. Like, nobody says that anymore, unless they're singing that old song, right? I don't know when the last time I heard somebody say that was. The N-word, not available in the current vernacular. You remember when Robert KKK Byrd tried to do that? And it was like, oh, by the way, he got away with it because he's a Democrat, but still was like, whoa, did he really just say that on CBS News, right? Or was it ABC? I think it was CBS. I've known a lot of white in my day. I was like, what? I'll never forget when he said that. And it just goes to show you how unfair the media the cultural, dynamics were and still are, where he knew he was going to get away with that. He knew it. He knew Bill Clinton wasn't going to have to answer for his part in the guy's funeral and other proceedings. And this is a man who claimed with pride to have the most KKK recruits of any Grand Cyclops in his area. You're a Democrat? No problem. We can wash away those sins? No problem. And that was before the era of Trump, where no matter what, now, no matter what you've done in your past, apparently you can even be a rapist who works for a foreign intelligence agency. As long as you have something of value to them, and that value is in stopping or stymieing Donald Trump and his wascally supporters, you will be forgiven. Period. Just like they've adopted the rat fink policy, where we can forgive everything that anybody's ever done. Oh, what do I got this bag of Essentia up here? My bad, guys. As you can see, I hydrate. All right. Essentia's good stuff. Not an ad. But yeah, they've adopted that same thing where like you can be a horrible monster like Jeffrey Epstein, but if you provide information to the FBI, they'll let you continue to rape little girls. Oh, what do we, folks? It seems so dark, Seems so dark, the time. But it doesn't have to be. All right, I'll let you go. 3:26. I'll let you go. Gamer subs for Rich? What's that? What's a gamer subs? Not sure what that is. Get back to you on that. I don't know what that is. I'm ending with this. I'm ending with this because I did see the response. I did see the original comment that this is in response to. And by the way, Scom is the one who did the, marathon credits in college, like me, having this conversation in here. An energy drink. No, sorry, Long Reach. No, I'm not an energy drink guy. I'm a protein shake guy, and I do like pre-workouts. And by the way, if anybody works out, if you can stomach it because of the mushroom that's in it, it's not like mushroom coffee, which actually tastes kind of good. From 1775, it does. But if you can stomach it, the pre-workout Kinetic by Mark Lobliner, he's the head of Tiger Fitness. It's my boy on X. He sent me some Kinetic, and I'll tell you, I still can't bench what I benched when I took Kinetic. In fact, let me do the math in my head right now. This 15 starts. It's a 30-pound difference. 30-pound difference. And it was like a month and a half ago. I feel so stunted. Laura's like, don't worry, baby. You'll get it there. You'll get it back up. You'll get it. You'll get it. And I'm like, no, I can't freaking lift it. It's pissing me off. I'm like, I don't understand, baby. I did 6 reps. And then it dawned on me. It wasn't just like a max, guys. Like I thought it was going to be a max. And I was like, oh, shit. Oh. It was Mark and that friggin' drink, Kinetic, which my son likes, and he drank it all. So I'm going to have to buy more. But that's the full extent of my energy drink stuff, you know. Other than that, it's just lean protein. I really like this place. That's, I don't know if you guys have one, but if you are in my neck of the woods, and I know some of you actually are, check out Craze Nutrition. Oh my God. Those are great for you. And people actually have come up to me and been like, oh, look, your skin looks so good. Yeah, that's the collagen in the drinks they're giving me. I'm serious. It's crazy. But their pre-workout's really good too. But if you're just buying one, Mark's Kinetic from Tiger Fitness is like, it's the truth. And I normally just have like a creatine pre-workout, like L-creatine, you know, L-carnitine, sorry. Something like that. Something easy, clean. But holy moly. This had, I like the formula better. And then it has the mushroom for, you know, men. And boy, I was cooking with fire. And now long reach, I can't get that damn up, man. I have heard about Roblox. I have. And my son actually. I haven't checked it out yet though. But my son, yeah, I'll check it out. Matter of fact, he's been bugging me too. So let me put it in my browser right now. All right. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I'll have to go back and check it out. But it's a max for now, right? Eric. Ouch, Eric. Ouch. But you're right. Because I did get 1 rep. When I didn't take Kinetic, I got 1 rep. And then I was no joke. And I went for 2 and I could not do it, man. Could not do it. I was like, oh my God, I need a spot. Oh my God. So sad. All right. Yeah, check out this thing here, though. I'm going to end with this. I have used 90% of what I learned in the real world and only 10% of the stuff taught in college throughout my professional career. I totally agree. Totally agree. I think that is the way it is. You know, and polling, for instance, is a great example. You're going to learn about statistics if you wanted to be a pollster. You can learn about statistics, maybe even dual major, smart, in political science or something, and or like minor in it. And then when you get out, you're going to have absolutely no idea what you're doing unless somebody becomes, unless somebody becomes your guru, Zen master, sensei in the art of polling and knows the art is itself an art. Because I think that's what's a part of the problem with polling. A lot of these people do the same thing that you were just talking about, and they're not using 90-10 of like 90-10 art, practice, the craft. They're using 90 of what they think they learned in books. And you can crank out a bunch of these nerdsters like the Nate Silvers. And Nate Silver's not a pollster, but you know, what's his name? We took over at 538. He's a great example. G. Elliott Morris. Guy's a freaking clown. Super book smart, can't poll for shit. But he thinks he can. The entire Survey Monkey team, they believe this, had this philosophy. They're horrible. Horrible. I got a degree from MIT. And I can't poll for shit. Because you don't know your population. It was good to meet you too, John. It was. All right. Yep. Oh! Exactly! Yeah! That's a perfect example. And I thought I handled that well myself. You know, like, well, excuse me, when was the last time he conducted a poll? What's his track record like? Oh, right. He doesn't have one. So if Grubhub wants to figure out their problem. Is Grubhub going to call him or is Grubhub going to call me? Right. Ooh, something smells like it's cooking. I hope it's for me. All right, guys. I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you tomorrow, actually. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll talk probably more about the redistricting stuff. Okay? Sound like a plan? All right, all the best, guys. Thanks for watching. Got to get some music up in here. Until then, I'm just going to go ahead and have to go ahead and cut this out. My God. Got to kill the old thumbnails every time we do it. Yep, that's just the plan. All right, guys, have a great rest of the day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you like the videos, to like them, my friends, and share them far and wide. I'm out. Pete the Public Polling Project in the description below.